Okay, so continuing with the idea that the clave is this omnipresent, not always heard rhythmic backbone in Latin music, I have formulated a question for my expert here. We were talking before about anticipation and how important it is. Fair to say, salsa of the many Latin styles is
Fully anticipated.
is
Completely.
okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the clave is pretty overt
Yes.
in salsa as compared to some other styles. Salsa, it's boom. Are you playing a 2-3 or 3-2? Now, we're gonna do a whole thing on that. Believe me, because I still am trying to learn to hear the difference.
We also are going to get into something called the change of clave. When you're on a 2-3, and all of a sudden the song becomes a 3-2 clave.
Which would destroy
And
it.
then back to 2-3.
Okay, brilliant.
That's
Good. Now, you may have been asking yourself after I said this how important anticipation is. The fact of the matter is, when we heard the habanera, not too anticipated. And as a matter of fact, we've been discussing off camera about merengue, which is a Dominican style. We'll get into.
Dominican.
Okay.
Pure Dominican.
Which has a lot of, remember this, anticipation and delay.
Yes.
Fair to say, are the two, to my knowledge, there's no other, the two ways that you can create syncopation in music, okay? Delay is super cool too. In salsa, we have this ton of this anticipation, right?
Yeah.
Now, merengue has it's one of the easier to dance because for folks like me, it's a little easier to find the beat. Right? 1, 2,
1, 2, 1, 2. It's
okay.
a two-step.
Very much.
It's a country dance, pretty much. It's
okay.
Country dance.
So, what's getting me is you have this highly anticipated music over here, music loaded with anticipation over here. Then you have more of a straight feel with some syncopation over here,
which is on beat 1, 2, 1, 2.
But I've been told that clave is all over the place in Latin music. So I want to know, I've had Robert play the clave with the habanera, okay? Now, how would I hear clave in, let's talk about a basic merengue rhythm first.
All right. Well, the first one I learned was... And I would think that would be a 3-2. But it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a 2-3. Another example of that would be.
Okay.
The clave is there, but the tumbado that the bass plays. You have the bass going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, but the rest of the band is it's on clave.
Okay.
And it's also on that grid that we use. That's the traditional metronome. Our bass is just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So we could say that this merengue is on 2 different metronomes at the same time. It follows the European 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it also follows the clave. Da, 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 1, 2, at the same time. However, if your brass section is playing a melody to accompany the voice, if that brass is not on that 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, it's gonna crash.
Okay.
It's gonna sound all mixed up. It's gonna sound muddy, kind of blurry.
Okay.
But if the voice is not on clave, even if the rest of the orchestra is on time, it's still gonna have the same problem.
Now, voice, you mean literally the
Literally,
singer.
that's the melody of the singer.
Okay.
The rhythm of
Okay.
the
lead
not the
melody,
notes, the
right?
rhythm of the melody that is written for the song
Okay.
has to be on clave also.
Okay.
Even if we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, it's twice as hard because you're doing
Okay.
2 metronomes at the same time.
Brilliant.
That's what I've learned.
I think that's a great. What Robert is talking about, the rhythmic crashing. Okay. Again, for the uninitiated, I would say it's so important to learn these rhythms specifically and know how they fit into whatever style in Latin music that you're trying to play. Because even though maybe you're like me and you think you are pretty funky, and you want to freestyle a little bit when you're with a band.
Yeah.
Oh, you hear this two feel merengue, and you're like, oh, I've got a rhythm that's gonna work with that. And you're like,
And the fact is that it probably doesn't. A lot of Americans have tried to jump in with a band. Oh, play. A lot of rock musicians and not jazz, but rock musicians will say, "Oh yeah, I want to come and jam with you guys." So we let them, and they walk out all happy, and we're saying, "Okay, now that was an example of what not to do in clave."
Okay.
And it happens a lot. But once they learn the concept, they learn it pretty well.
Yes, and I'm proud to say I'm getting there, thanks to people like Robert Louis Silveira. But I'll tell you where I haven't got to, and again, this is why we're going to continue, well, for my own development and for yours as well. I haven't totally internalized. I haven't locked in that clave in sort of to my unconscious sense of the beat when I'm playing in these styles. Do you hear when you're playing a salsa? Is there in your head? Are you kind of?
Well, being Cuban, that's the good thing, that in Cuban music we always have a person playing the clave.
Okay, now we talked about that before, where sometimes it's implied, sometimes it's not.
So even if it's not there, I can feel it. I can still picture it in my mind.
Okay.
But there's other musical forms like salsa they don't use. Sometimes they don't play a clave. And sometimes I wonder, why isn't there a clave there? And we have different instrumentation. In Cuba we use violins and flute versus a lot of brass. Because it's not as loud and it's a lot softer, and you can talk and hear yourself.
Okay.
While the whole band is playing full blast, you can still hear yourself like a conversation.
Okay.
So the dynamic level is different. But I noticed that sometimes they use a clave and sometimes they don't, even though you feel it, because it's our metronome.
Right.
So we feel it.
And I know I'm getting there. The point being,
there are times when I have been playing a merengue band, and remember that thing you said earlier before about merengue that this is off camera.
Yeah.
When it was there's some rhythms that go in reverse clave.
okay.
I remember I was experimenting with that once in the show, and one of the percussion players said, "Wrong clave." I had to turn it around because I started in the wrong clave, not knowing that. I'm like, "Man,
Right.
merengue's in clave." He's like, "Yeah, it has to be in clave."
Yes.
And I was crashing with the whole band for
Right.
2 or 3 seconds, and I had to change it.
Yep.
This is a long time ago.
Okay. We've both come a long way since
Yeah,
then.
you learn.
I'd like to thank Robert Louis Silveira and say, if you are interested in lessons with he or me, you can contact us you can see all here on the YouTube channel and I'll put it above.
Where is it on that corner or
Gonna
on
come
this
across the
one?
screen very shortly. And I'm gonna ask Robert to give me bumps in the form of the 3-2 clave. Bop, 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 bop. Peace out.